Let's Talk with Pat Williams, managing member of CyberCletch, your marketing management team.
So I got the opportunity to interview Stephen Clark of WXYZ Action News, and during our conversation I talked about the fact that I sold real estate and thought I should take a minute and explain to those of you wondering, why do I have CyberCletch LLC, your marketing management team, and also real estate? Well, I sold real estate for 3 years when I first moved to Michigan. I had downsized my business during the move. I had employees back in Ohio, and when I came here, I started to build it again, and I thought, I'm not sure this is what I want to do. I'm kind of bored. So I got my real estate license and began selling real estate. And I thought, if nothing else, it would be a good opportunity for me to test how social media can impact a business from ground zero. Because you see, I didn't know anybody here in Michigan when I started selling real estate. And I thought it would take a long time to build up any kind of a clientele. But what I discovered is that within 3 years, I had to choose between my business and real estate. And obviously, I chose my business. So I thought Stephen Clark is one of those high visibility people in the community, and that he would be a great person to tell other real estate agents or other businesses why he chose me over any number of real estate agents that he could have requested, and what type of role social media played in him choosing me to be his real estate agent. So, of course, we talked about that, and then we got on to talking about community and the impact social media has on community and how to create one online. So I've actually broken this interview into 2 parts, and this is the first part. With Stephen Clark of WXYZ, Channel 7 News, Action News. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
And I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Twitter and mostly talk about how our relationship came to be.
Okay.
How you ended up seeking me out on Twitter as a real estate agent, and why you ended up seeking me out, so that other people running businesses online and using Twitter to market themselves do so effectively in a way that attracts people rather than makes them run the other way.
Well, I think what you did correctly, which I see done incorrectly so often, is you didn't push what you do. I knew you were a real estate agent, and I knew you were in my area because we had conversed on other subjects. Mm-hmm. And never had you said, hey, I'm a real estate agent, I can sell you a house, or whatever. I just knew that you lived in my area and you're a real estate agent. Just through conversation. And I think that's the important thing about, working in a social media community is developing relationships. It's like any other community. First thing you do when you walk up to a new neighbor in your neighborhood, you don't walk up to him and say, hey, I'm a meat salesman, buy a steak. You get to know them first. You get to know who they are, who their kids are, where they go to school, where they work, all this kind of, you get to know them first. So in our case, I met you through Twitter, although I just learned through conversation what you did. And then suddenly one day I had need of a real estate agent in my neighborhood. I said, you know something? That Pat is a real estate agent. She's in our area. I bet she could help us out. And that's what I think was so important. What you did right is you didn't push what you do, but you certainly, over time, when you were involved in a conversation, you become a friend.
And that's how I approached being online, was basically let people get to know me.
Right.
Now, the concern is, and I know a lot of people have this concern, is at what point do you share what you do? Mm-hmm. So how did you know that I was a real estate agent? Because I don't know that we ever even had that discussion, did we?
Well, and I may not have known other than, isn't it your profile? Maybe, because I always check people's profiles out, and so I saw it in your profile, if nothing else. So I don't know. I don't recall you ever saying, hey, I sell real estate, but I just knew it through either conversations you'd had or things you'd posted. Mm-hmm. Or your profile or something, but the important thing is you didn't shove it down my throat.
Yeah, so if I had been posting, look at this listing, here's another one for sale.
I probably would have learned to ignore your post.
Yeah.
What I do is, even though I will keep people in my stream, you know, friends, and they go by, is I have learned, like Pavlov's dog, eventually, that some things I just ignore. They go by and I know what they are. And so I see them fly by and I don't bother clicking on them because I know what they are. I know it's going to be a real estate listing, or I know it's going to be an ad for something. And I'm just not interested. You know, the people I will click on are the people I know provide me with stuff that might be interesting to me. And so it may not have anything to do with what they do. That's how I approach it also. I mean, I'm in television and my bosses are constantly saying, well, you need to push people to our content. And I push back and say, no, I don't. I don't want to do that because I don't want them to think that's all I'm here for, is to get them to watch my TV station, because that's not what I'm here for.
But I do find that I click on a lot of your stuff.
Well, and a lot of the stuff has nothing to do with what I do either. It has nothing to do with Channel 7. I'm not pushing our story. Sometimes I am, but it's only if I really find it to be an interesting story.
Yes.
So I'm hoping what you learn from my behavior is that if you click on something, you'll get something that will truly be of interest to you. And not just because I'm clicking, just constantly feeding you
your information.
Right.
And that's what people new to the business don't understand. And I hear this from other people. You know, they'll say, I can help you. People, now that I'm not selling real estate and I'm working in the business that I'm working online, what I hear is a lot of people saying, you know, you need to come with me, you need to work with me, because if you're not making money and you're not pushing those links, then Twitter's not working for you. I disagree with that.
I don't agree with either.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's a relationship building. Were you at any time nervous about contacting me? I mean, really, because when you talked to me about real estate, we had never met in person. Our kids went to school not too far from each other. They were both...
And I think that's why I wasn't nervous about contacting you, because I didn't know you as a real estate person. I knew you as a neighbor and a fellow parent who shared similar interests.
I think that's key.
And that was definitely key, because the fact that you sold real estate only said to me, oh, here is somebody who has the ability to look and, you know, sell and buy real estate, which is what we're looking to do. What attracted me to you, though, was the fact that I knew you. Whether I knew you physically in the real world or I just knew enough about you through your posts, whatever. I mean, it was a relationship. And that's what, to me, in my business is so important, is building relationships. I know so many people in my Twitterverse here that I have not met in person, but the odd thing is when I do, I feel like I know them already.
Yes,
you know, I'll meet somebody for the first time, and I forgot sometimes that I haven't met them.
Yes,
and I'll say,
you're right.
I haven't really met you in person.
Especially if they have a profile picture that's accurate.
Yeah, exactly.
It is like that.
Yeah.
And the back channel.
Yeah.
We just had a back channel tweet up.
Pizza tweet up.
At Buddy's Pizza.
And that was brought about, and here's what was best about that also. Okay, so if you're not familiar with the back channel, it's a community that was really started. It was an ad hoc thing. I started it absolutely accidentally.
Accidentally?
It was never done with any direction from my management.
Yes.
They never said, go out and start a community. I just started it. Literally one night I was bored on the news, and I tweeted, is anybody out there? And somebody answered me back. And I said, wow, yeah. And pretty soon I had a conversation going that had nothing to do really with what we were doing on air. It was just somebody was interested that the TV anchor was talking to him on Twitter.
Yeah.
And from that spread out where they brought somebody else into the conversation. And at first it was kind of me and this person, and me and this person, and me and you, and me and eventually what was really rewarding to me is when it started becoming you and that person.
Yeah,
and
because
you and that person, and that person, and that person, and
yes.
I didn't even have to be a part of the conversation anymore. That was really what a community was about. It never depended on me to moderate it. It still doesn't. To this day, it doesn't depend. And when you talk about the pizza tweet up, what was so great about that, it was one of the members of our back channel community lives in Tokyo. Yes. He is from this area, but he has for years lived in Tokyo, and he stumbled across us, finds this to be a little slice of home for him. I have used him as a news source for the Tokyo quakes. Little cultural things that happen in Tokyo that we find curious here in Detroit, like the meat monster hamburger. People in Tokyo will eat anything. And so I find that he will shoot me little videos with his iPhone, send it to me, and then I put it on the air here. So he's like my Tokyo correspondent. But what was cool is when he was coming back for a company visit back to Detroit, it wasn't me who said, hey, let's have a party. It was one of the other members of the back channel said, hey, let's have a pizza party. And he organized it. Somebody who also didn't know this guy personally. somebody who didn't know the other people that knew him, but he said, hey, let's have this pizza party. I know somebody at a pizza place that can do this. And next thing we know, we have this party of all these people who don't know each other in the real world, but we talk all the time online. And it wasn't me driving this. It wasn't a TV station thing. It wasn't a me thing. It was the community doing it.
What do your bosses think of this?
At first, they didn't know what to think of it. I mean, at first, they were just saying, oh, the stuff you're saying. Because I'm critical of story choices. Somebody will say, why do you have to lead with that murder tonight? And I say, you're right, I hate it.
Yeah.
I think it's the wrong lead. And so then my boss would call me and says, why are you telling people it's the wrong lead? And I said, because that's what I believe it to be. And they said, well, you don't have to tell people. And I said, no, I disagree. I have to tell people. Because as long as they understand that I
don't
agree,
make those choices.
And I'm not lying about it, I'm not hyping it, I'm not all this, I will be honest with them. And because I'm honest with them, you know what? They watch us. Mm-hmm. And not because I'm trying to fake honesty, I'm really honest with them. And they will watch because of that.
And well, I watch the news now. I had sworn off the news 15 years ago when I moved to Columbus.
You are so typical, and what I'm finding from people that we have on the back, I still have people there all the time that still don't watch the news, but they will be on the back channel almost every night.
And that's how they get their news.
And they'll get that news.
And they'll check the website.
And they'll check the website.
I do that.
Or sometimes they will flip on the TV now. And they say, something, I stopped watching. You know why people stopped watching the news years ago?
It was too sensationalized.
It was too sensational. They were tired of empty promises.
Yeah.
We'd sit there and say, here's a good example. And this happened to me recently. It's happened to me in 30 years ago. We do a story like, there's something in your kitchen that will kill you. Details at 11. Well, okay, we could get away with that 30 years ago. You know why? Because nobody had any way of figuring out what that was. They have to wait until 11 o'clock for us to tell them what's going to kill them in their kitchen.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you got Google. Somebody says, something in your kitchen is going to kill you, and they're going to go like this, and they're going to find out. Well, what I've done is I've given them an avenue to say, immediately, the instant I say that on television, they can say, what's going to kill me? And I'll say, oh, it's your sponge. It has bacteria in it. And they'll go, thank you.
Yes.
And I had a producer say, why did you tell people that? And I said, because if I don't tell them, they're going to get mad at me for making them work for the answer, and they're not going to watch us because they're mad at us.
It's true.
And
but
said, well,
if I know it's a sponge, it's like I'm going to watch.
Exactly. And that's the point. Is that then they say, well, if you tell them they're not going to watch, I said, are you kidding me? They're going to watch.
Yes.
Because they're going to say, I know it's going to kill you. It's your sponge. It's like knowing the answer to Jeopardy. So it's a win situation for us in the respect that we're treating our audience with respect.
Yes.
I'm trying to say, hey, listen, there's no secrets here.
We're intelligent over here on the other side of the glass.
and that really was the whole idea about was breaking this barrier between us. It was me talking to you, and you just have to sit there and take it and listen. I want you to talk, and I'm listening.
Now, I watched you do this from the silverfish hand catch all the way
You've been
through.
Pretty close to the beginning.
Yeah. And it seemed like you were doing this way before any of the big TV stations, New York and the
I think at the time I was doing it, I saw one place do it, CNN, and they were doing it differently, and it was still a broadcast. Mm-hmm. What would happen was the anchor would go on Twitter and he would type out, okay, coming up I'm going to talk about this, and 1,000 people would answer, but he would never ever answer back. I would watch his stream and I'd realize that he was still talking, but he wasn't listening.
I will never forget the first time you answered me back.
Did I say something snarky?
No. You answered. I asked a question and you answered, and then I saw you on the TV, and I was looking at my phone and looking at the TV, thinking, how did he type that so quickly? Does he have an assistant? No. And I think I asked you, do you have an assistant that does that?
And I've had people do that. So you must have a staff that does it. What I do is I have, this is my Twitter machine, I call it.
Oh,
it's my iPad.
yeah.
It sits right in front of me during the entire broadcast. And, obviously when I'm on there, I'm not on completely continuously. We'll introduce a story and then I'll have a minute or a minute 10. Or my co-anchor will be reading a story and I'll have 20 seconds. Or we'll have a commercial break that's 2 minutes long. And my entire newscast is these little bit of breaks. And so the instant I stop talking, I will go down my stream really fast and I'll find people who are asking direct questions and I'll answer. And I promise on my Twitter stream, I will always answer a question. I will never defer it. I won't ignore it. People have said something like, well, that was really stupid of you to say that. And I'll immediately answer. I'll say, why do you think that was stupid?
Yeah.
They say, because obviously this. And I said, well, I'm sorry, I don't have the knowledge that you have on this. Enlighten me and I won't be so stupid next time. And people will go, wow, okay.
Well, you not only answer questions, you take time to thank people and acknowledge them. and that's huge.
Well, I think in social media, I think social media evolved so quickly. I think one of the things we forgot was the social aspect of it.
Yeah.
And it's just polite. I mean, if I ask you to do something for me and you do it, I'd say thanks for doing that. And in a way, I'm saying, hey, thanks for being part of this conversation. And it would really be nice, and actually it is, and I see this all the time on the streams. I will thank somebody, but I will also see other people in that same conversation thanking each other. And they'll say, hey, Pat, have a good night. It was nice talking to you.
Yes.
You
yeah,
know?
they do.
And it's not directed at me. It's not me directing anybody to say that. That's just common courtesy. That's just a good neighborhood and people being good neighbors. And that's how I see this, is it's a neighborhood.
Hashtag back channel is a huge neighborhood. It's great.
I think it is, and I seriously believe it to be a model for how my industry can really change. And interesting, you asked how management took it. At first, they had no idea. My corporate management happened to be in town, and it was great timing. We did the bus stop, which was I worked with blight busters in Detroit, tearing down a house and cleaning up a neighborhood.
I was there.
You were there, and so were like 130 other people from the back channel.
Yeah.
And we put this thing together, and I did a story on it, and on Monday we ran the story, and it just so happened, and it was absolutely no planning. Trust me, I'm not that devious. Our management from corporate headquarters were in town, and they saw the story I did, and they said, that is what we want to do. That is what we do. And suddenly, it was like the canonization of the back channel. And now every station in our group calls me regularly, and the anchors are constantly on the line with me saying, you know, how do you do that? What can I do? How can I start the back channel? I said, first of all, you can't call it the back channel, because in the Twitterverse it get really confusing.
You have to
but call it something else. But yeah, have a community. Have a community that's people. And the fun thing about the back channel is it's not all people in Detroit. We do have people who live in completely different cities and have nothing to do with Channel 7. They can't even see Channel 7, although I'll send them the online link and say, if you want to watch, watch. But that's not necessary. What we're really doing is we're just talking about things. Mm-hmm. And if you want to talk, you know, put in your 2 cents worth. We want to hear it, and we will talk back to you.